They were warned, every single one of them. They packed nothing. They went nowhere. They lit their oil lamps, opened their shops, and waited to be destroyed. The smell of fresh bread drifted through the eastern market before dawn. Bakeries on the Via Londinium, Roman name, Roman cobblestones, Roman ambition, were already turning their first loaves of the day. Children slept. Merchants counted yesterday's coin. The River Thames, dark and wide and indifferent, carried the tide in as it always had. 30,000 people, 24 hours left. Not a single one of them believed it would actually happen. How does an entire city choose to stay when death is already marching toward it? Londinium in 60 AD was not supposed to exist. The Romans had founded it less than 17 years earlier, 43 AD, the invasion year, and already it had outgrown cities that had stood for centuries. Contemporary Roman geographers described it as a place swarming with merchants and crowded with goods. That was an understatement. By the time of our story, Londinium's port, stretching along the northern bank of the Thames near what we now call Billingsgate, was processing more trade volume than almost any settlement in the entire northwestern Roman Empire. Walk through it at dawn on October 10, 60 AD. The port district first, timber wharves jutting into black water, amphora of Spanish olive oil stacked man-high on the docks, the sour salt smell of Baltic fish sauce cutting through the river mist, Gaul wine, Samian pottery from southern France, glazed red, impossibly fine, Syrian glass, translucent, fragile, carried overland from the eastern Mediterranean and worth more per vessel than a laborer earned in a month, all of it moving, all of it here. North from the port, the road climbed toward the Forum. The Forum of Londinium in 60 AD was not yet the massive structure it would later become, but it was already the commercial and judicial heart of a city of roughly 30,000 people. Timber-framed shops lined its edges. A basilica, incomplete, still being built, cast a long shadow east by 8 o'clock. Scribes worked beneath its unfinished colonnades, writing contracts in Latin that neither buyer nor seller had spoken 10 years before. The people here were nobody's idea of a homogeneous population. Romano-British merchants who had adopted Roman names and Roman dress, but still dreamed in their native Trinovantes dialect. Gaul traders from across the Channel, freedmen from the Mediterranean, soldiers off-duty from the 9th Legion, drinking pasca, vinegar and water in the taverns near the bridge. A city that spoke 6 languages before breakfast and owed money in 3 currencies. And the bridge, the only bridge across the Thames for hundreds of miles in either direction, an engineering miracle of timber and iron that made everything possible. Without that bridge, Londinium had no reason to exist. With it, Londinium was the axis everything rotated around. Every road from the south funneled through it. Every soldier, every shipment, every message from Rome to the northern frontier crossed those planks. That bridge, that specific bridge, was also the reason nobody left, because crossing it meant believing, and belief on the morning of October 10, 60 AD, required you to accept something the Roman mind found structurally impossible, that a woman was about to erase them from the map. Her name was Boudicca. The Iceni called her something closer to Victoria, the victorious one. History gave her that name before she earned it, which is either irony or prophecy, depending on how you count the bodies. She was queen of the Iceni tribe, a powerful client kingdom in what is now Norfolk, northeast of Londinium, roughly 130 miles as a Roman road runs. The Iceni had been Roman allies, cooperative, politically useful. Her husband, Prasutagus, had ruled as a client king under Roman authority, paid his taxes, maintained order, kept the peace for 17 years. When he died in 59 AD, he left his kingdom jointly, half to his 2 daughters, half to Rome, a gesture of goodwill, a legal document, a trap. Roman administrators, specifically the procurator Catus Decianus, operating out of Londinium, ignored the will entirely. They annexed the kingdom, seized noble Iceni estates, flogged Boudicca publicly, assaulted her daughters, and then sent the bill collectors back the following spring. Contemporary Roman historian Tacitus, writing 50 years later but drawing on eyewitness accounts, describes what happened in 3 words: she chose war. Tribes that had watched the Romans for 17 years, tribes that remembered what they owned before the roads came. The Trinovantes of Essex joined her, then others. Estimates from ancient sources range from 100,000 to 230,000 warriors, numbers almost certainly inflated by Roman writers processing their own humiliation, but even the lowest modern academic estimate puts her force at somewhere between 50,000 and 80,000 fighters moving southwest, fast, angrier than anything the province of Britannia had produced in a generation. Camulodunum fell first. Colchester, the Roman capital of Britain, the city with a temple to the Emperor Claudius at its center, a monument to Roman permanence, burned in a single day. Contemporary accounts describe the Statue of Victory falling from its pedestal, backwards, face first into the mud, the night before the attack. Nobody at the time thought it was a coincidence. The 9th Legion marched to intercept her. Nearly the entire foot force, 2,000 soldiers, died somewhere in the flatlands of East Anglia. The exact location has never been found. The governor, Gaius Suetonius Paulin, was 250 miles in Wales when the messages reached him. He turned his cavalry around immediately and rode. He reached Londinium. He looked at 30,000 people. He looked at his cavalry. No infantry, no siege equipment, an army designed to move fast, not hold ground. He ordered the evacuation. He told Londinium to leave, and then he did. Some people left with him, the mobile ones, with horses, with carts, with children young enough to carry, merchants who could abandon their stock, Roman officials who understood what the 9th Legion's disappearance actually meant. Most people stayed. Tacitus records it plainly. Many remained, held back by attachment to the place, unable to believe the end was real. The sick, the elderly, the ones who had built something here and could not physically carry it, the ones who looked at 17 years of investment and decided a queen's anger was still more negotiable than total loss. They were wrong about that. October 11th, 60 AD, dawn. The birds had stopped. The Thames was low. The market stalls on the Via Londinium were closed for the first time in living memory. The only sound was the bridge, its timber planks groaning in the morning current as they always did. Then the ground started to shake, not an earthquake, feet, 80,000 feet moving in loose formation through the forest road from the northeast. The sound arrived before the army did, a low rhythmic thunder that the people of Londinium felt through the soles of their sandals before they heard it with their ears. The Iceni did not lay siege. There was nothing to lay siege to. No walls, no garrison, no defense. Londinium in 60 AD had no city walls. The Romans had never built them. Why would they? This was a friendly province, a trading hub, a place for commerce, not combat. They came through the northern approaches first. The smell of the torches preceded them, pine resin and animal fat, the specific smell of large-scale intentional fire. The market district went first, timber frames and thatch caught in minutes, the forum, the warehouses by the port, the basilica still half-built, its unfinished colonnades burning from the top down. Archaeologists excavating Londinium in the 20th and 21st centuries discovered a layer of red-black ash beneath the city, averaging 48 centimeters thick, a burned horizon that scorched the ground to temperatures hot enough to vitrify pottery, to melt metal, to turn the clay beneath the city's floor permanently red. That layer has a name in the archaeological record. Archaeologists call it the Boudicca destruction layer. It runs continuously beneath the modern streets of the City of London, beneath the banks, beneath the offices. 48 centimeters of everything 30,000 people built, compressed into ash. Tacitus's estimate for Londinium, Camulodunum, and Verulamium combined, 70,000 dead. Roman citizens and allies,
in 3 cities in less than 2 months, and it still wasn't over. When Suetonius Paulin returned, he walked through something that stopped being a city and became a geography of ash. The forum outline still visible as a charcoal rectangle, the bridge partially burned but structurally intact. Boudicca's forces had crossed it heading south, not destroyed it, because an army of 80,000 people needs bridges too. The counting problem was immediate and permanent. Londinium had no surviving census record. The Forum Basilica, where those records were kept, had burned with everything inside it. The true number of dead may never be known, because the people who would have counted were among the counted. One survivor, preserved indirectly through Tacitus, hid in the river itself, clinging to a timber piling beneath the wharf for hours while the city above her burned. She never gave her name. Tacitus doesn't record one. She survives in the historical record as a single sentence. She survived. That's all we know. The ironic twist of Boudicca's war is written in the soil. The wealthiest Romans, the ones who waited longest to believe, died overwhelmingly. Their fine imported goods melted around them. The poorest inhabitants, the ones who owned nothing worth staying for, survived at higher rates. They left first, precisely because they had nothing. Londinium was rebuilt within a decade. By 100 AD, it had grown to 45,000 people, larger than before the fire. By 200 AD, it had walls, massive, stone, built to last. Those walls still exist. Sections of the Roman wall of Londinium still stand in the modern city of London, incorporated into buildings, preserved beneath car parks. You can touch them. Stone that Roman hands placed after the city burned, built specifically so this could never happen again. For 19 centuries, the Boudicca Revolt was filed under ancient history, interesting, distant, safely contained in the past tense. But the mechanism at the center of Londinium's destruction was not a queen's rage. It was the gap between what people were told and what they were willing to believe. 30,000 people received accurate warnings. The information was correct. The danger was real. The messenger was credible. And still the majority stayed. Not because they lacked the warning, but because the mind has a specific resistance to information that requires it to abandon everything it has built. Empty streets, shuttered markets, a city that knew something terrible was coming and found 10,000 reasons why it would probably not arrive. Does that sound like ancient history? The pattern repeats. Human nature doesn't change, only the names do. Every generation inherits the same architecture. The warning, the disbelief, the specific window between knowing and acting that closes faster than anyone expects. The people who survived Londinium were not more intelligent than the ones who died. They were simply willing to move before they were certain. Certainty in 60 AD arrived 48 centimeters deep. 70,000 people, 3 cities, 2 months. Most of the world has never heard Londinium's name as anything other than the ancient word for a city that came after it. History doesn't just bury bodies, it buries warnings. The Boudiccan destruction layer sits 2 meters below the financial district of one of the most powerful cities on Earth, beneath people who move money, make decisions, process information faster than any civilization in history. And 48 centimeters beneath their feet, the ash of 30,000 people who received perfect information and chose, rationally, to stay. They built Londinium knowing the empire was impermanent. They built it anyway. They rebuilt it after it burned. They built walls this time. They built it to last forever. It lasted exactly as long as they were willing to believe the warnings that surrounded it. So do we. If Londinium deserves to be remembered, not just by archaeologists and historians, but by the world, share this. Tell someone. Because the only thing more tragic than what happened beneath those streets is forgetting it happened at all. I'll see you in the next era.